Okay, good morning and welcome to the screens once again after a very long time. In this video, we are going to walk through the new ICAG Professional Exam Qualification Syllabus for the years 2024 to 2029, which will begin in November 2024 exams. In this edition, we are going to focus on public sector accounting and finance, PSA. I'm going to look at what has been added, what has been taken off, and discuss. Thank you. As I scroll to the section on public sector, all right, so we are finally on the page that covers public sector accounting and finance, PSA for short, we call it most times. Paper 2.5. Paper 2.5. Now, this paper is designed to provide CA students or candidates with technical knowledge and skills that students or candidates will need to perform straightforward financial reporting tasks within the public sector or a covered entity. Now, on completion of this module of the syllabus, we are required to acquire some competence that is enough to enable us to explain and illustrate the key elements of public financial management cycle in Ghana, and also to explain and apply the conceptual framework for general purpose financial reporting by public sector entities. I believe here most of you have done it, or you'll be doing it in FR, financial reporting, the B part here, conceptual framework. So if you have knowledge in the FR, you can transfer similar concepts or knowledge here as well. Identify and apply appropriate IPSAS to financial transactions. Yes, Ghana has adopted the use of international public sector accounting standards, and identify and explain appropriate accounting policies and prepare financial statement and notes for public sector entities in accordance with IPSAS. Yes, preparing accounts, central governments, MDAs, MMDAs, public education institutions like, say, a college of education, a university, a district hospital, and all that. Evaluate the financial position, performance, and prospect of public sector entities using financial reports and other information. Yes, we'll talk of interpretation and other ways of assessing the performance of a public sector entity, being it a university, district assembly, a hospital, police service, using key indicators and parameters. Then the F, explain the role of governance in the public sector and how it differs from corporate governance in the private sector. Yeah, corporate governance role, very, very important in modern day financial reporting and finance. Now, this table is going to show us what we just discussed here from the A to the F, the weighting that is going to come in the exams. This is to tell you that everything in the book is coming in the exams. Every topic is coming. And so that's why it's advisable not to do selective learning. For professional exams of IC kind, you learn everything. So let's look at the syllabus coverage and the weight that is given for each area. So the overview of public financial management cycle in Ghana, about 20% of it, or of this section, you'll be examining on in the exams. Regulatory and conceptual framework for public sector accounting in Ghana, 10% weighting will come. Application of IPSAS to financial transactions by public sector entities, 20%, meaning you have to know all your IPSAS. IPSAS 24, budgeting. IPSAS 1, 2, 3, what does all the IPSAS say? Based on disclosure, measurement, recognition, scope, objective, and how you apply these in preparing financial statements. Then the D, preparation of financial statements for public sector entities. Yes, I mentioned earlier. Prepare a financial statement for public, university, or a training college, a hospital, a district assembly, central government, 20% weighting will be examined on. Evaluation of financial position, performance, and prospects of public sector entities. Yeah, just to know the going concern of a public sector entity by way of evaluating their performance. 20% weighting. Then governance issues in the public sector are about 10%, making 100. Now, we are being told that we should note the detailed content of the public sector financial reporting standard assessed in this module is specified in Appendix A. We go to Appendix A. In this appendix, it details the depth of treatment of required technical knowledge and our progression of competence over the levels in the qualification. It is important for us to read the appendix in line with details of the table that is below to appreciate the expectation of the scope and depth of treatment in the assessment of public sector financial reporting standards. In all the other courses, an ethical environment is very, very, very vital for effective and credible operation of a public sector entity. The syllabus will include consideration of ethics in Section A, that we as candidates will be expected to maintain an ethical mindset in all areas and be aware of the need for professional skepticism and judgment. Professional skepticism and judgment. Not being overly suspicious or overly trusting, but a trust but verify. Trust but verify. In assessment, we may be required to. So we are going to look at the details under what we looked up before this place. For the A, how you can explain and illustrate the public financial management cycle in Ghana. Yes, this will normally include planning, preparing a budget execution, including revenue management, expenditure control, cash management. By this, we'll be emphasizing the Treasury Single Account, TSA for short, debt management, and assets management. Then record keeping, accounting, and financial reporting, review and audit process, including monitoring and evaluation, internal audit, external audit, and parliamentary oversight. Realize that all this were also contained in the old syllabus that just ended in July 2024. Okay. Then assess the performance of public financial management system using the Public Expenditure and Financial Accountability Framework, PEFA. PEFA almost comes every year, and it's a topic that was also in the old syllabus that's just ended in July 2024. And so we should be expecting more PEFA in the coming years or the years ahead. Then B, explain and apply the conceptual framework for general purpose financial reporting by public sector entities. Yes. How do we explain and apply the conceptual framework for general purpose financial reporting in the public sector entities? Paying attention to the following: objectives and uses of general purpose financial reporting. And transfer knowledge from FR to here in a way. Qualitative characteristics of financial reporting in the public sector. Yes. faithful representation, and all that. The characteristics of the reporting entity, elements of public sector financial statements, mm, financial performance by way of income and expenditure, financial position, where you look at government assets, liability, equity, statement of cash flow, which are the figures translating from the balance sheet into a cash flow perspective, making adjustment to net income and adding back all non-cash items like depreciation and only looking at movement in items such as receivables, inventory, payables, cash flow. Okay, so these are some of the elements of public sector financial statement. Then recognition of the elements of financial statement of public sector entities. Yes. At what point must items be recognized? Items of liability and assets. All right, measurement of assets and liabilities and their presentation. Measurement. I did mention that to know the IPSAS very well, we must know what the IPSAS say about the recognition, measurement, disclosure of the various assets, liability, or let me say the elements of the financial statement. Then explain the role of IPSAS or International Public Sector Accounting Standards Board. Yes, we'll be asked this in an exam question. In FR, we have the IASB, the National Accounting Standard Board. Here we also have IPSASB. Then we describe, explain, and apply public sector financial laws and administrative rules. Yes. Here we are going to look at the conceptual, the regulatory framework that binds financial reporting or financial management in the public sector. What does the law says? What laws govern public financial management in Ghana? So obviously, the first and mother one will be the 1992 Constitution, the Public Financial Management Act. Yes, you need to get all these acts and read them. Act 921 and its consequential regulations is very, very important. Sometimes students are writing PSA and they haven't even laid hands on the PFM Act 2016, Act 921. It's not very voluminous. You can finish reading. Other Service Act 2000, Act 584. Examiners will ask questions here. Public Financial Management Act 2003, Act 663, its amendment, Act 914, and its consequential regulation. Yes, most of the times examiners go directly to the act and ask questions because maybe the pamphlet you may be reading didn't touch much on the acts. But some of the acts, when you take it and you look at where they've written interpretation or definition, examiners can just go there and go and pick how something has been defined under interpretation or definition and ask students about it, sometimes for 3 marks, 5 marks. It's very important. Internal Audit Agency Act 2003, Act 658, Local Governance Act 2016, Act 936, and other related financial management enactments by Parliament. So all these acts you are seeing are very, very important if you want to pass your PSA at the first setting. Some, though the pamphlets you are reading, they are going to, I mean, ask or write something on them. But it is also very important that we get the act itself and be reading them. All right. The nature and purpose of assets and liabilities in the public sector, the regulatory rules of public sector entities, assess ethical issues in public sector accounting in respect of functions and powers, offenses, and penalties of the following bodies. Yes, these are some of the additions that has been added that is not in the old one, in the old syllabus that just ended in July 2024. Economic and Organized Crime Unit, Office of the Special Prosecutor, Public Accounts Committee, Financial Intelligence Center. Say assess ethical issues in public sector accounting in respect of functions and powers. So we are expected to know the functions and powers of these bodies. All right. Demonstrate professional skepticism and judgment when reviewing ethical issues, and explain the impact of development in technology on public sector accounting, in particular, the function and operation of GiftMix platform. Ghana Integrated Financial Management Information System, GiftMix. Okay. Then C, to also explain and apply appropriate IPSAS in relation to financial transactions of non-commercial public sector entities. Non-commercial, they are set up not to earn profit or income. So here they are going to look at IPSAS, what the IPSAS say about what? Inventory, accounting policies and changes in accounting estimate and error, event after the reporting dates, effect of changes in foreign exchange rates, borrowing cost. If you've done FR before, you can realize that all these things are concepts derived from International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS. Then financial instruments, recognition, presentation, and measurement of financial assets and liabilities, excluding derivatives and hedging accounting, construction contracts, leases, investment property, plant and equipment, PPE for short, provision, contingent liabilities and assets, related party transactions or disclosures, impairment of non-cash generating assets, impairment of cash generation assets, revenue for exchange transactions, revenue for non-exchange transactions, budget information in the financial statement, employee benefits, agriculture, intangible assets, service concession arrangements, public sector combinations, social benefits. So you see, all these are IPSAS that we are supposed to know for the purpose of our exams for the years November 2024 and beyond. I've told you how to study the IPSAS. That look at the scope of the IPSAS, look at the objective of the IPSAS. What does the IPSAS say about recognition, measurement, disclosure, the recognition, treatment in the financial statement? Very important. Cash flow statements, non-current assets held for sale and discontinuous operation, measurement, transfer, expenses. Okay. Then let's look at the D, identify and explain the appropriate accounting policies and prepare financial statements and notes for public sector entities in accordance with what? The IPSAS. You have to explain the financial reporting, structure of the government of Ghana. Yes, I mentioned earlier, preparing financial statements for central government, local governments, central government, budgetary government, extra budgetary government, local governments, the MMDs, state-owned enterprises, commercial state-owned enterprises, non-commercial state-owned enterprises, and general government as a central government and local governments, whole of governments, general government, and state-owned enterprises. We should be able to also explain and apply appropriate accounting policies in the presentation of accrual basis public sector financial reports, and to also explain the features and application of government chart of accounts. This thing can normally be found on the Controller and Accountant General's website. The government chart of account for classification of revenue and what? Expenditure. For revenue, tax revenue, non-tax revenue, grants, donations. For expenditure, where we have compensation, goods and services, social benefits, subsidies, and consumption of fixed assets, or let me say depreciation. Then we also explain how alternative choices of revenue recognition, assets and liabilities recognition measurements can affect understanding of the performance, position, and prospect of public sector entities, or when presenting consolidated or separate financial statements in accordance with what? IPSAS. Yes. And to prepare financial statements for central government entities as the MDAs, including institutions such as health and education authorities. I mentioned this earlier, right? Local government entities, MMDAs, and non-commercial state-owned enterprise in compliance with IPSAS. So for the purpose of the exams, we'll be given a whole question with additional information for you to prepare financial statement for central government, which is the ministry, department, and agency. So you'll be asked to prepare financial statements for, let's say, Ministry of Trade and Industry, or Ministry of Roads and Transport, or a department within the Ministry of Roads and Transport. Let's say Department of Highways, Department of Feeder Roads, Department of Urban Roads, Department of Parks and Garden, or an agency, Environmental Protection Agency. That will be under which ministry? Environment and Natural Resource. Yes. Or local governments. Be asked to prepare financial statements for AMA or Lezokuku Krowo Municipal Assembly, Teshin, Nwa, or University of Professional Studies, Atebobo College of Education. All this must be prepared in line with the IPSAS on PPE, inventory, the IPSAS on cash flow, the IPSAS on non-exchange transaction, the IPSAS on revenue recognition. What does this say? Then also prepare financial statement of a single entity undertaking a variety of transactions on the basis of chosen accounting policies in accordance with IPSAS and local regulation. To identify from a given scenario a control entity associated with a joint venture according to IPSAS public sector financial management laws to prepare consolidated financial statements arising for controlled entities associated or joint venture in accordance with IPSAS and public financial management laws. Then to prepare extract from financial statement of an entity, preparing financial statement and undertaking a variety of transactions on the basis of a chosen accounting policy and in accordance with IPSAS and public financial management laws. Yes, let's make progress. The last one, explain with example additional information that may be disclosed about the general government sector under IPSAS 22 and disclosure of budget information under IPSAS 24 and to discuss the requirement for public sector entities to observe sustainability reporting and ESG requirements. And the E is to evaluate the financial position, performance, and prospects of public sector entities using financial and other information. Here we have to identify the uses of public sector financial statements, and the information is, yes, including environmental, social, and governance, ESG, environmental, social, and governance, ESG. Recognize the limitation of published financial information in meeting users. Yes, these users that need the information. What are the limitations that this information comes with? Now, to explain the scope of financial statement analysis and providing a decision useful information regarding financial position and performance and cash flow. And to also interpret by preparing ratio analysis appropriate to a public sector user, covering the following areas like efficiency, short-term solvency and liquidity, long-term solvency and stability, borrowing to asset, working capital ratio. All this in a bit to assess the going concern of public sector and to compare the role, strength and weakness and practical uses of accounting ratios, key performance indicators in benchmarking exercise in the public sector. Yes, ratios should not be looked in isolation. Sometimes ratio can be misleading in the effect, the strength and weakness that come with such accounting ratios we are supposed to know. To demonstrate the importance of exercising professional statism, and judgment in assessing and interpreting financial information. Then lastly, perform common size statement analysis and budget analysis. Yes, we will be giving information to analyze budget figures and actual figures, year-to-date figures, and others. Then F, explain the role of governance in the public sector and how it differs from corporate governance in the public sector. We have to be able to explain the regulatory rules of public sector entities, focusing on areas such as the powers, the responsibilities of the Ministry of Finance, the powers, the responsibilities of Control and Accounting General Department, Internal Audit Agency, State Enterprise and Governance Authority, SEGA, Bank of Ghana, BOG. They identify the key stakeholders in the public sector organization and explain how their needs and expectations are different from those in the private sector. In the public sector, key stakeholders will be what? You and I, the taxpayer. But for the private sector will be the company shareholders, the primary stakeholders, shareholders, who are looking for maximization of their wealth. Then to consider the impacts of different sources of funding on public sector governance, explain the importance of the 7 principles of public life in public sector governance, explain the role of internal audit and external audit, in public sector governance, then to compare the key elements of social responsibility and sustainability in the public sector with those in the private sector. And we are also able to illustrate how public sector organizations achieve social responsibility and sustainability. This brings us end of our discussion of the syllabus on public sector financial reporting and finance, or public sector financial accounting and finance. Yes, started from all the way here. Public sector accounting and finance. These are what we are expected to know. In my next video, I will be lecturing on detail of some of the topics and look at past questions. Until then, see you again, and thank you for your time. I am Edmond Frimpong, a member of ICAG, a member of Chartered Institute of Taxation, and a level 200 University of Ghana School of Law student. You can reach me if you want to get in touch on 054 062 5679. Thank you.